you. So now I would like to share with you the reading for the day. And they are by Mahatma Gandhi and Howard Thurman. Gandhi says, "Your beliefs become your thoughts. Your thoughts become your words. Your words become your actions. Your actions become your habits. Your habits become your values. And your values become your destiny." Yeah. And Howard Thurman says, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive." And so it is. And so it is.
So welcome to those of you who may have just arrived in the sanctuary. The theme for the month of February is integrity. And my talk title today is Our Highest Values. Now, on Wednesdays, over the last 2 months, we have been taking a deeper dive into our overarching theme of the year, spirituality in action. And over this last month, we have been talking about integrity. Now, last Wednesday, we showed a movie about a young girl who was beginning to attend a brand new school. Now, initially, we were given kind of an outsider's view of her classmates. And I have to tell you that I kind of experienced it like the Hungarian version of the movie Mean Girls. There was a lot of cliques and a lot of people doing kind of unkind things to each other, not really accepting everybody that already was at school there, let alone some newcomer to, even think about welcoming her. But there was one young girl that actually befriended her in this movie, and they develop a very close friendship. Now, on her first day of school, we see her mother and the principal talking. And the principal is telling her mother that they have a very successful choir there at that school, that they have won many competitions and many awards. Now, the new girl really loves to sing, and she really has a desire to join this group. And the principal was very encouraging, even telling the mother that, I believe that everyone should be able to participate. And that's the way we run our choir. So the girl decides that she's going to go for it, right? So the next person that we meet is the choir director, who may have an agenda of her own. When the new girl sings with the choir during the very first rehearsal that she attended, the choir director asks her to stay after the others have left. And after they leave and she walks up to the new girl, she asks her, I think, really wanting to maintain the high quality of this very successful choir, she asks the young girl to simply lip sync through all of the songs and to not tell anybody about it. That if she were to tell somebody about it, that they would simply just think that she didn't have a very good voice. And so it would just be much better if she didn't tell anybody about it. So the young girl really wants to belong. She wants to be a part of something, so she agrees to do what the choir director has asked her to do, but she's pretty upset about it. Her new friend notices that something is off with her, that something's wrong, that she seems to be quite sad. So she asks her friend what is wrong. And at first, the friend doesn't reply. She's honoring what the choir director asked her to do. So she doesn't reply, but, that her friend continues to keep asking her. And so finally, she admits to her what the choir director has asked her to do. And now her friend has become very upset. At the next choir rehearsal, the friend looks around and really notices that there are more people than just her friend that are lip syncing. And so if you thought she was upset before, I'm going to tell you she is really upset now. And so she speaks up very loudly in front of the whole choir, really blowing the lid off of this whole affair and really threatening to quit. So the choir director now speaks up, and she reminds all of them that they have been very successful doing what she has asked them to do. She reminds them that they have all really enjoyed the success that they have had, and that they all have an opportunity to go to Sweden if they win the next competition, pretty much implying that if they do not lip sync as she has asked them to do, then all of that would go away. She says that their parents are going to be very upset. And so they all choose to continue to participate in the choir. However, unbeknownst to the choir director, the two put a plan of action into place. And so as the choir takes the stage at this big competition, and the choir director raises her arms for them to sing, in that moment, the entire choir begins to lip sync. Nothing is coming out of their mouths. So, in front of a very confused audience, the choir director tells them to sing. You can imagine. She tells them to sing and again raises her arms to begin the choir singing, and again, all of them are only lip syncing. Now, this happens again and again for a couple more times, and you can imagine the choir director is getting angrier and angrier. At one point, she even takes one of these young choir members and shakes them before storming off of the stage, calling them all bastards. Right? In that moment, as she is storming off the stage, the new girl's friend begins to sing a solo in an incredibly beautiful voice. And pretty soon, all of the rest of the choir has joined her. This is how the movie ends, and this is where our discussion that evening began. Everyone in attendance on Wednesday felt something as they watched that movie. Everyone in attendance had something to say about the integrity of each and every single one of the major players in the movie. And really, no one entirely agreed about all of it. We each ran the story through our own lenses. Some questioned the principal's integrity. Did he tell the mother one thing, but actually tell the choir director something else? Was the choir director going against the principal's intention that everyone should participate, or because she allowed each of them to be on the stage, even though she didn't want all of them singing, was she actually following the principal's wishes? Or did the choir director have her own agenda, wanting to be really successful, wanting to win at all costs? Did the new girl and all of the others who chose to lip sync, because they were asked to, but they chose to lip sync, were they acting out of integrity with their heart's desires, or were they simply acting in integrity with the desire that they had to belong to something? Did the choir, the entire choir, act out of integrity as they created a situation in which the choir director would fail. There was all kinds of questions, all great questions, all great ideas, all great thoughts. And in the end, we really realized that each and every single person in this movie was acting from their own particular set of values. And that in truth, the world is full of competing values. That the people around us are all living out of certain values. They're all living their lives out of certain values, whether they know it explicitly or not. That it is simply happening. Now, values are the principles, the ideals, the standards, or the qualities that inform and shape the way that we live our lives, and the intentions and the choices that we make. They are the underlying foundation of our thoughts and our actions. Values cut across age. They cut across class, across race, across ethnicity, and politics. They are a standard by which we measure ourselves. They determine what activities, jobs, and people that we want to be a part of our life. Now, not all values are created equal, however. A man named Mark Alan Schletsky, in his book, Discovering Your Authentic Core Values, says that there are two types of values. There are aspiring core values, and there are authentic core values. Now, according to him, the vast number of values lists that we can find on the internet are typically aspirational core values. They are the values that a person wants to be true. They are the qualities that that a person admires or that a person aspires to be. It is, these values are a positive statement reflecting something that we want to become one day, but is currently not a true reflection of who we are. They may be ideal, they may be our desire, but they are not the truth in this moment. Values like this can also be called outside-in values. Outside-in values. They are imposed from the outside, and with the hope that our internal reality will come into alignment with that particular value over time. Does that make sense? Now, in his book, The Values Factor, Dr. John DeMartini says, he describes a type of outside-in value as social idealisms. Social idealisms are the socially accepted way of thinking and behaving. They're probably not always our own personal highest values. He says social idealisms sound nice, but they don't necessarily reflect the true driving force that shapes your perceptions, decisions, actions, and feelings. You might genuinely believe that you are inspired by these ideals, but they are more likely to reflect your ideas of how you should, ought to, or have to behave, not what you value, what you truly value the most. Now, we can be pretty sure that when we are expressing social idealism or expressing values from some other external authority and not expressing our own highest values, when we hear ourselves say something like, I should, or I need to, or I really must. Now, for example, the social idealisms that we learned from our parents or from our teachers may lead us to believe that we should save money, but we really rather would travel and see the world. Other social idealisms picked up from our family or from the culture around us may lead us to believe that we should put a lot of time into our work, when we would really rather spend time with our family or with our friends. The bottom line is that we don't need to just blindly reject the social idealisms or the values that we were raised up with, but neither can we simply assume that these values are necessarily our own. They can be very different. Now, authentic core values, or our highest values, are core because they reside at the center of our being, shaping our thoughts, our choices, and our actions. These can also be called inside-out values. They are the qualities and desires that, truly motivate our current behavior. They are a kind of a compass pointing us to the activities, the people and the places that would truly fulfill us, and pointing us away from the activities, people, and places that are likely to feel unfulfilling for us. Authentic core values are not a set of hopeful ideals. They are the real values at the core of our being. Our authentic core values are as specific to us as our fingerprints, or as our retinal pattern, or as our voice print. Rachel Naomi Remen, in her book, My Grandfather's Blessing, talks about a research study that she facilitated. And in the study, she asked 73 physicians to rank order the same list of 21 values twice. The first time they were to rank them was in accordance with how important that particular value was for them at work. And the second way that they were to rank them was according to how important that particular value was for them personally. Now, none of those physicians that responded had the exact same list, not with each other, and not one list compared to the other list. And in many cases, they were really often strikingly different. She says kindness, for example, might be number 2 on someone's list of personal values and number 15 on their list of desirable work values. Competence might be someone's number 1 professional value and come in dead last on their personal list. Now, of course, you may find some similarities between your values and the values of somebody else. For example, 2 parents might equally value nurturing their children. However, one of them might express that nurturing through challenges and discipline, while the other might express that nurturing through long conversations around feelings, or by offering comfort in times of difficulty. Even when 2 sets of patterns appear to be pretty similar, each person's value will never be quite like anybody else's. They're always going to be subtly different. Another very interesting thing that Rachel Naomi Remen said about this study was that the physicians were really dismayed to discover that they lived one way but believed an entirely different way. Now, if this was true, for a group of physicians that they gathered up, just a random group of physicians, I would have to believe that it would also be true for some of us sitting here today. That some of us are really living outside of integrity, that we are not living our lives from our highest values, that we may actually be selling out our authentic values in order to survive, or in order to maintain the status quo, or to fit in, or to appease others that are placing some kind of demands on us. Some of us might not be living from our highest selves. And this, as you can imagine, causes a lot of stress in our lives. But the bottom line is that we are always at choice to align with our authentic core values and to consciously and intentionally allow them to inform our perceptions or our beliefs or our decisions or our actions. But we first must be aware of them. Now, just as no one can really choose our fingerprints for us or can change our retinal pattern, no one or no outside authority, not a parent or a teacher or a political leader or a religious figure, can choose our highest values for us, nor should we allow them to try to do that. Only we can look into our own hearts, into our own minds, into our own souls to know what is truly most important to us. Our highest values may change throughout our lifetime, but they will always still represent the essence of each of us, what we are drawn to, what we inevitably seek out in our lives, and what we live for. Mark Alan Schletsky says, if you don't get clear about your personal values, you will always be living in reaction to the value-based choices of the people around you. Either their values will shape your life, or your reactivity to their choices will. Neither of those is life-giving, motivating, or dream-building way to live. God didn't design you to live in constant reaction to others. Identifying our highest values, our authentic core values, is incredibly important if we want to live our lives intentionally. Values are a part of us. They highlight what we stand for. They represent our unique individual essence. Knowing what drives us allows us to be thoughtful about our choices, to be thoughtful about our decisions, to be thoughtful about our actions. If we're wanting to live a more intentional life, then getting clear about what our highest values are for ourselves is a very important place to start. So how do we do that? How do we become more aware of what our highest values are? The thing is, right, that we can do what we always do. Google it. I will tell you that you can find a bazillion lists of values on the internet. Some of them have like over 400 values listed. However, this strategy will not work in this case. Values are not selected. They are discovered or revealed, but they cannot be selected. Think about it. If we start with a list, then our conscious mind is going to take a look at that list, and it's going to decide which values are better, and that's the one we're going to choose. You know I'm right. If we begin by presuming that we know the answer, then we won't take this journey. We won't embark on discovering what our true, authentic core values are. It's easy to speculate, and it's easy to idealize that what we should value, but really knowing our highest values takes some degree of inner work. The invitation is to begin with a beginner's mind. Again, that blank slate, right? Now, there are a number of different processes that you can find also on the internet that you could work through either independently, or you could work through them with a practitioner, or you could work through them with a mentor or a coach. Last year in our journal for our Wednesday night services, we included a process written by Reverend Bill Turner and others that you could also complete if you haven't already done so. Another way would be to just get a journal. Doesn't have to be fancy, could be moleskin, but it doesn't have to be fancy. But to just get a journal and then to get quiet. To just get quiet and to sit, to take the time to sit with these clues. Clue number 1, your voids. Your voids can be your strongest indicator. Ask yourself, what is missing from my life? Take a moment to write down the first 5 things that come to your mind about what is missing in your life. And the biggest voids will end up being at the top of your list, and in all probability, these may be some of your greatest values. The second clue is what dominates your thoughts. What do you find yourself thinking about the most? These frequent thoughts could reflect your highest values. Clue number 3, what do you spend your money on? Now, I want you to forget about the essentials, but I want you to think about what you spend your money on that gives you joy. So, for example, you might really love to spend your money on books or classes or online courses. And if that's the case, then in all probability, one of your highest values would be knowledge or learning. Clue number 4, where are you the most reliable, disciplined, and focused? There are times when you are in the zone. There are times when you are in the flow of life, when time stands still and your focus is sharp. These moments could be key indicators of your highest values. Number 5, what inspires you? What is important to you? Think about the people, the activities, and the outcomes that inspire you the most. And then find the common factor behind all of them. These could be some of your highest values. Clue number 6, peak experiences. Consider the meaningful moments in your life, those peak moments that really stand out, that when you're thinking about them, you feel even inspired. You can feel the feeling tone of that experience even years later. What are your peak experiences? What was happening to you? What was going on? What were the values that you were honoring at that time? And lastly, suppressed values. So once you take a look at those peak values, the invitation is to really just go in the opposite direction. Consider those moments in which you felt frustrated, in which you got angry, or in which you got upset. What was going on? What were you feeling? Flip those feelings around. What value was being suppressed in that moment? What value was being suppressed? On Wednesday evening, I had the sudden realization that the aspects of the story that really upset some people more than they upset other people were because those aspects of the story contained their highest values. So, for example, if you were most upset about the fact that the teacher, told everyone to lip sync and to not sing, and then told them to lie about it and to keep it hidden, perhaps one of your highest values is honesty or openness or transparency. Now, we have all been created with the capacity for self-awareness and for choice. We can choose to discover our highest values, and then, moment by moment, we can choose to align with them. And in those moments, our highest values become our context for living. And within that context, we will be able to live our lives in integrity, with ease, and with grace. Please repeat after me. I keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve. I keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve. One more time. I keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve. That high resolve is our highest values. And so it is. And so it is. Please turn within. Turning within, I am aware, acutely aware, of the power and presence of Spirit within me. I know that I am connected to it in ways that can never be broken. That it feeds me, guides me, guards me, supports me, fuels me, and funds me. That I am living its life in my own unique and individualized way, that I am an ambassador of its presence on the planet. And just as I know that this is my truth, I know that it is the truth of each and every single person here today, each and every single person within the sound of my voice. And it is from that place of unity, this deep and abiding connection by that golden thread of God's stuff that weaves itself throughout all of life, that I speak these words of prayer for us today. Truly knowing that we are spiritual beings having a human incarnation, that we have within us our own unique values. Values that are seeking to be expressed through and as us, both individually and collectively. I know that these values represent the highest and the best of us. That they are unlike anyone else's values. That we have our own way of expressing them, our own way of being, of bringing them into the world. And so I claim ease and grace for us around discovering what those values are for each of us. Bypassing any list and allowing ourselves the opportunity to truly know what those values are for ourselves. To know that if we don't bring them forward in our own particular way, that they will not be brought forward, and each of us is important to the whole. That our unique way of expressing our highest values is significant. And so I know that we powerfully step into this discovery process, letting go of the ought tos or the shoulds or the I need tos, and just listening, connecting with our deepest selves and allowing ourselves to be informed by our inner wisdom. And I'm so grateful to know this truth, so grateful to speak these words. So grateful for the power of prayer, knowing that these words are loosed into a law that works with mechanical regularity to clothe my words in form. And so I speak them and I release them with love and gratitude, letting go and letting God be God. We anchor this together for ourselves and for each other and for our community simply by saying, and so it is. Amen. Amen.